Good afternoon. My name is Vernita Howard. I am the founder of SWAT, Survivors with a Testimony. We're here tonight with some amazing women who are going to bring awareness to domestic violence, sexual assault, and spiritual abuse. Myself, I just enjoy what I do. That's who I am. But I am passionate about helping others. And one way to help others is advocating and bringing awareness through education. So, on tonight, it's going to be a little different, but we want you to know that the faith based community is here for you. So, tonight, I'm going to ask um, each speaker to just give you a short bio of who they are. And so we're going to start with Prophetess Kia.
Hello, everyone. I am Prophetess Nakia Dowdy. I am also a domestic violence advocate, human trafficking advocate, and I also deal sometimes in the arena of sexual assault. I am a certified life coach and owner of Integral Solutions Coaching Services. And I also love to bring awareness to assault, domestic violence, and those different avenues that are affecting families and communities.
Thank you, Prophetess. Evangelist Knight.
Hello, I am Evangelist Dr. Margaret Knight. I'm an associate minister at the Anderson Chapel Missionary Baptist Church. Benita and I attend the same church. I am passionate about teaching and education. I've also been a community advocate. I've worked in several areas in trying to help prevent gang violence, helping children to stay on the right track. I've been a member of several organizations that cater to that area, but also I've not been a victim of domestic violence, but I've been around those who have been victims of domestic violence. So I understand the concern, I understand the passion, I understand the need for the church to be able to reach out and to help those in need in specific areas, not just so much in the church, but in specific areas.
Thank you, Evangelist Knight. Pastor Faison.
Blessings, everybody. Good evening. I am Pastor Linda Faison. I am the founder of Loving Kindness Deliverance Ministry, which will be birthed on this coming Saturday. I'm also the founder of Right Love Wrong Places, which is an organization I started that was birthed through me after I came out of a domestic violence relationship. So I've been in the field working with domestic violence about 6, 7 years, working with helping Miss Howard whenever she needs me to help her. I help her. Basically, right now, I am trying to really help the church understand truly what domestic violence is, and help the men and women understand that you don't have to always stay. You don't have to. So that's me.
And Apostle Adams.
Good evening. I am the founder of God's Women Across Empowerment Ministry, which was founded in 2008. I'm also the founder of You Don't Know My Story. And You Don't Know My Story is women that's been abused, domestic relationship, that the Lord allowed me to come in and tell their life story of how they got delivered. I have a human service degree. I'm an advocate for information. I'm a mother, grandmother, great grandmother, aunt, cousin, auntie. I'm a Uber driver. I do it all. You know what I'm saying? Transporter, where you want to go, what you want to do. I am the person that you call. And I love what I do. I love people. Number one, I love people, and I love what I do. I'm a good listener. I love to listen to people. Um, a good counselor is a good listener. They listen first before they speak, and you find out that when you listen to a person, most of the time they can solve their own problem. So It's good to listen first before you cut somebody off. Because a lot of times when you try to cut them off, you cut them off, they won't come back with that same response, and they won't say what needs to be said. So I'm glad to be here this evening. I'm also uh, have been in domestic violence, was abuse, in all kind of areas, church abuse, physical, you name it. Been there, done that. Still writing my book about it. That's who I am.
Thank you, ladies, so much. Thank you, Apostle. Thank you, ladies, so much for taking time out of your night to help spread awareness on such a sensitive subject. So we're gonna dive right in. So, prophetess, can you define domestic violence for me?
Domestic violence is like a pattern of coercive controlling behavior. It's a form of manipulation. It puts you in the place of emotional demise, where you're not able to mentally and physically function behind the trauma that is continually building behind the abuse. Domestic violence is not love. A lot of men and women try to define that as, I do this because I love you. No, that is not true. Abuse is no form or no way of love. Domestic violence is comes in many forms. It comes in narcissism, manipulation, control, taking your money, even your children experiencing trauma. So it's not a healthy barrier to be in. And it's not always physical. It's also verbal. It's emotional as well. So domestic violence has a lot of different arenas, and sometimes people they don't want to identify it as that, because that's all that they know. They know is trauma and hurt. And so yeah, that's basically what my definition of domestic violence is.
Um, and you touched on some areas, and I'm glad that you pointed out that it's not just physical,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people think when you hear domestic abuse that it's just physical, and a lot of people will say, well, he didn't hit me or she didn't hit me. um
Mhm.
and so I didn't see it as that. And I was that person, in some relationships when it wasn't the physical, maybe it was the verbal.
Mm-hmm.
um but with the physical, those scars are seen, but with the verbal and the mental, those are scars that are not seen. Those are invisible scars, and it's
Mhm.
layers and layers and layers.
Yes.
And then when it resurfaces, it's like, whoa, where did that come from? But
Mhm.
it's like taking something and just patting it down and just patting it down and just patting it down. And then eventually when it get wet and it resurface, like nobody knows how to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of make it seem like you're an abusive person because you act out, as they would say. And so it's important that we discuss all forms of abuse so people can be educated on it. It's
Mm-hmm.
very important. And I can honestly say, until I actually got into this work and started really studying and um, really, getting into it, because I really wanted to know everything about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I only thought that I had been in one abusive relationship, and that was because of the physical abuse. But then once I realized, like, oh my gosh, like it was a pattern, it
Mm-hmm.
was just a different form of abuse, and so this one may not hit me, but when they were tearing me down emotionally, you know what I mean? It was still
Mhm.
abuse, and I didn't see that until I became educated, and that's why I believe in having these forums.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mhm.
Anybody else want to elaborate?
I want to say this um, about being abused, verbal abuse. I mean, I went through that with years. I mean, growing up in relationships and being in a relationship from one to other is like I didn't understand that every relationship I was in growing up, it was always verbal. And I really didn't think it was verbal. I just thought that something they got mad, something they said. But growing up, I had this, I would lash out and didn't understand why I was lashing out. It's because all the verbal stuff that I heard that I over the years, it was still there. And it was there. And I never got healed from it. So when you a place like that, it'll cause you even sometime with your kids to lash out at them for
Mhm.
something because you went through it. And I'm finding out
Mhm.
today that sometimes women lash out and say the things they say to their kids because they've been verbal abuse. And so they're
Mhm.
saying the same thing to their kids that was said to them, and they don't think it's abuse. They just, but they were bad and they were just mean. They were, no, it's abuse. I mean, because
It
when
is.
somebody tell you that you ain't no good, and then you tell your child the same thing, and then you expect them to act a certain way, and when they go in school and get in trouble, they're acting out because you said they weren't no good. So so they start acting out that way. So I find that a whole lot of that because today I was in the grocery store today, and I was so upset. The young lady, but she really didn't see me till she got past me, and I heard somebody talking, and she was talking to her daughter. She was calling her. I mean, she was actually cursing, calling her names, and she was just going. I was saying, God, I said, well, look, that's too much, and I hate you. You make me sick. And I said, and so I said, Lord, I said, she got to have been abused somewhere. I mean, for the lash out, because she wasn't nothing but a child. I mean, this was a child, and this was an adult talking to their little child like that. So she had to been somebody had to say something to her to make her feel uncomfortable about herself. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Those scars. Because if you don't get healed from them scars, you'll grow up a relationship. You'll damage
Mhm.
your children. You'll damage somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that really made me upset. And uh, I was in another world because I'm telling you, I would have got that today. I would have got that today because I don't mind talking. But right, I would have got that today. I sure would. But I was in another world, and he won't let me mess with it. I'm just being real because I would get it
Mhm.
in a minute because I thought that was talking to that child, and she was crying. I said, "Oh my God, come on here!" And you sometimes you'll see that a lot. Sometimes you go to the grocery store. I mean, and I said, "Okay," I said, maybe she's frustrated, but she frustrated but still cursing at your child, no, no. To me,
Right.
no. Mm-mm, 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 mm-mm.
And may I speak?
Go ahead.
I know
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of areas of abuse and what people adapt to and accept domestic violence or any forms of abuse is because of growing up in broken homes and
Mhm.
growing up in those kind of arenas where the fathers and the
Mm-hmm.
mothers mistreated them and talked down to them and were broken and bitter and angry. And so those
Mm-hmm.
characteristics and those traits were bestowed upon you, and you carried it on
Mm-hmm.
as into your motherhood with your children, which is very barren and very negative, and it causes so much childhood trauma, and it causes misunderstanding and of children's identity and focus points. It distracts them in school. Even forms of abuse with economics, with men controlling the homes. Now, I'm the husband, I pay the bills, you can't go here, you come in at a certain time, going, sabotaging your job, taking your money, making you submit to only what he says, with you having no form of agreement in marriage. In marriage, we're into unity in one. And so those are some forms also of abuse that
Mhm.
people unknowingly don't even know that they're bound by. It's just sad to even see that, to be carried on through generations. Like she was fine. I see it all the time from where I'm from,
Mhm.
where parents are broken and bitter and angry. They're upset, even mistreating their children because of how their husband or child's father left them or mistreated them, and so
Mhm.
they don't like the child. I mean, it's real. It's way more avenues of abuse than what people perceive. So
Uh-huh.
definitely, it's bigger than what people know.
And
Mm-hmm.
then speaking on the financial abuse, we always talk about the man being in control and taking over the funding. But truth be told, now that women are able to go out and some women are actually making more than their spouses, because they saw education. Um, and so it gave them an advantage. And so now they're in control. You know what I mean? And so they're almost stripped their husbands of the right to spend money, and they sugarcoat it, as if, hey, I'm just budgeting or preparing for tomorrow. So that's why when God laid on my heart with SWAT to advocate, this is also to give my son a voice, right? And so with that being said, we have to look at it both ways, you know, because again, as women, some of us have the education and some of us are making more than our spouse. It doesn't make him less than a man, but we also have to look at that too. Um, Women can be just as abusive as a man can. And we've
Lord,
seen it
yes.
like with the Johnny Depp
Oh,
um
yes,
story.
the defamation
Like
case.
we really have seen it through that. Um and just put it out there. Even with Will Smith, he don't see Jada as abusing him, but she has. We don't want to talk
Yes.
about we want to just sweep it under the rug, but
Yeah,
I'm here to keep it real.
that's right.
Yes.
Abuse is abuse. I don't care who it is, and it's not right.
Yeah, overbearing, controlling, manipulative, narcissistic behaviors, just mild-mannered and nonchalant towards anything with selfish agendas. If it's nothing, you're not getting your way, is no way. Like, no.
Right.
That's the people form relationships like that, and it causes you to be bound by them, and it's actually a form of abuse.
Yes. Pastor Linda.
Yes, as you guys was talking, I was sitting here and my mind was going 1,000 miles a minute. And I can remember being married to this gentleman, and we were both in the church. It had gotten to the point that he was teaching his son. How I really realized that I was in an abusive relationship is when his son began to abuse. He began to allow his son to fit in my food, control what I ate. Um, it was like, and I was like, how do you allow your child? Why would you want to put those things in your child because you're happy with the things that you have going on in your life? And then when we first started dating, he began to tell me, um, well, we're both in the church, and it's okay if we be sexually active before we get married and stuff like that. And me back then, um um in salvation, and how your flesh is burning, but he was just like, well, if you keep my secret, I keep your secret. It was just, you when you begin to listen and you begin to talk, and that's, I'm like, like Apostle was saying, like, wait a minute now, I don't seen this before. So that was the my breaking point was one night when he raised his hand to hit me, and he was on the way out the door to church, and I wasn't going to church that night because I had got enough of being in that church and stuff like that, got enough being within his ministry. So that night when he was going to church, I was packing and leaving. I mean, I packed and I left, and it was a long time that abuse was still even. He was still even controlling me when I wasn't even in the house. And you said, how in the world did you? I was free, not being there, but mentally, my mind was still locked in to being in that house, because he would call me and say, well, I need such and such amount of money for such and such. And I would, like a little, go give it to him and stuff like that, thinking that if I would give him money, it would allow him to leave me alone. But the more I gave, the worse he got. And I decided, hey, look, I just changed the number, changed everything. I told my mom, I told my sisters, told my brother, I said, look, if he calls for me, you don't know where I'm at. You don't know where I'm at. You haven't talked to me. You haven't made any communication with me. And then it got to the point I would just really stop calling my family so they wouldn't even have to lie. So it was like, even though he still put a wedge in between, in between me and my family and my life and my church life, and
So he isolated you without even being there. It was
Mm-hmm.
manipulation and isolation. And that's one of the things of an abuser. They know how to manipulate and they know how to isolate. If they isolate you from those that truly love you, they make you feel like nobody else care. So
Mm-hmm.
his actions was to make it seem like, well, your family's not reaching out to you. I told you I'm the only one that care. So if you hear that repeatedly, eventually it sounds true. And it sounds like, well, even my mom didn't reach out to me. But like if you avoiding her and you're not talking to her because you don't want her to lie to him, you know what I mean? You was doing it as a protection measure, but he still had power and control over you.
yes,
He was isolating you from those who could really help you. And so we see that a lot. It's oftentimes that we hear the things that we hear in this field. Sometimes it makes you wonder, like, with everything that I do, like, Lord, what now? Um, because truth be told, even with my situation and with me being in an abusive relationship, a lot of mine was I didn't read for myself. Like, and I didn't understand what was going on with me. So, and a lot of times we want to mimic what we see in our homes. Like my parents was together until my mom died. And so my dad was an excellent provider. You know, um, he was there for us. And so to be in this abusive relationship, I still wanted my children to have what I had. But what I didn't, I was in an abusive situation, but my mother never had to go through that. My dad showed love. He
Uh-huh.
showed his caring, how he can care. And so to actually go through it, like that was one of the hardest situations I ever been through.
and like in my family, I grew up without my dad. I when I saw my father, from the age of knowing who he was until about 10, and then at 10 he left, and he said, "I'm going to the store. I'll be right back." When I saw my father again, I was 30 years old. He was getting off the bus coming to my uncle's funeral. Then he
Wow.
again, and when I saw him again, um, it was like probably about in the last past 6 years, because he's been deceased now a year. He's been deceased a year. But
Mm,
that relationship that you want from your dad, you a lot of times we think we don't, but we do. We're trying to
mhm,
find a man to love us according to how we thought our dad should have loved us.
mhm.
That's what was going on with me in a lot of relationships I've been in, looking for that. And that's how Right Love Wrong Places came about, because I'm like, Linda, you're looking for the right love, but then you're putting it in the wrong places. You're putting it into people who you think care about you, and these people don't care about you. This man never really loved you, because if you love somebody, how do you allow somebody to touch what you say God gave to you? You get what I'm saying? How do you allow
Right.
another man to violently touch what you say God gave to you? Those are
Mm,
the things that I have dealt with in relationships that I've been in. But I thank God now that, God bless me with somebody who loves me for who I am, who accepts who I am, who accepts that, whatever happened yesterday. That conversation don't come up today. If we got in an argument yesterday, or we had a disagreement, or we talk about it, that's the type of husband I have. He's like, "Oh girl, we forget about that. That's old stuff." And they had to take me a long time to learn that, because you in a relationship. When you're in an abusive relationship, you used to, okay, when I get up tomorrow morning, I got to deal with this
Let's
again.
still deal with it.
Start over.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
not with my husband now. My husband like, girl, we ain't talking about that. I don't forgot about that. Look, what can we talk about new today? So I just think
Right.
that, I've been through those experiences, and as you was talking about the children, I've seen some mothers. I'm telling you, they be putting it on their child in the store, and I've seen times, Apostle Adams, I've interrupted. I said, "Excuse me, is there something going on? Is it is there something that you need to make your day better so that this child's day can be better?" I've done it. I've asked, "What's going on? Can I pay for your groceries today? What can I make how can I make your day better? Are you short of money or something like that?" A lot of times it's something that they have been through that before they went in the store. That a lot of times that they bring in the store with them, or the child might look like the daddy. Like you said, child might look like the father, or the child might like the daddy, or they might look wrong or move wrong, and it just sparks a flame. So,
Yes.
I just thank God for this on tonight because it's really needed for people.
Evangelist Knight.
I've been listening to your stories and to your experiences, and I thank God that I grew up in a home where I saw how a father and mother were to treat the children, how they were to treat each other, even when they had disagreements. There was a way. My father commanded respect of my mother from us children. We did not disrespect her, and my mother would correct us if we disrespected our father. So we saw them respect and love each other. So that's what I look for in looking for someone, was someone who acted like my father. And I believe that's, what my daughter was looking for in finding someone like her father, because when fathers teach daughters how they're supposed to be treated, they won't accept anything less, or they will come to the realization of, this isn't how I was brought up. This isn't how I was treated. And the Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. But and I think that's true. I think that's it's a recommendation. It's not necessarily a promise, because a lot of times we bring up the children in the way they should go, and they depart from it. Some of them come back, and some don't. But I still believe you have to lay that foundation, that they know, like the prodigal son, that they will at some point come to themselves and realize that there is a better way than this. I have better waiting for me than this. I can go home and I can start over. And I think sometimes we as parents, when our children leave home, and sometimes they leave home under circumstances that we don't approve of, I don't believe in locking that door. I believe in leaving that door open, because I don't want them to get out there and find themselves in a bad situation and feel like I don't have anywhere to go. I want them to know that they can always come back home. And I know sometimes home is worse than what they've gotten themselves into when they're leaving a bad home. But I'm just saying, me, I didn't lock the door behind them. I didn't take their key. They had an opportunity to return home. And I think that's what we should do. But I think we, as Christians, as Christian women, as women of God, we cannot lower the standard. We cannot allow the women of the world to see us being treated in our marriages and our relationships worse than they're treated in the world, because then they don't want anything that we have to offer, because they look at us and they say, well, you can't even take care of yourself. And if I'm supposed to look to this God that you're looking to, why is he allowing you to go through it? But I think we cannot lower the standard. We cannot accept less than what God has promised us, what God has ordained for us, what God has declared for us. And I think sometimes we as women of God, we settle. And I don't think we do that. I think we have to look to men who are willing to become strong men of God. They may not be that way when you meet them, but your life had such an effect on them that it drew them. And so, but I think we can't lower the standard. We can't lower the standard to improve our financial situation. We can't lower the standard to improve our standing in the community. We cannot lower the standard because we recognize men of God. If it's not the right man of God, we look at Juanita Bynum and what her husband went through. They were both supposed to be preachers of God, and we look at what they went through and what they did. And so, what I'm saying, we have to make sure that what we're getting involved in with and who we're getting involved with are truly of God. We have to set that standard, and we cannot lower it. You know, I say this all the time. My niece, and I pray for her often. Both her parents are ministers. They have a wonderful relationship. She's a minister. She has an awesome relationship with her parents. They always did things together as a group. She was not kept bound where they were so strict on her. She was allowed to experience life.
Mm-hmm.
But she experienced it and she maintained that standard that her parents set. And she's continuing to maintain it as an adult. And I think that's where we have to get to, is that standard cannot be lowered for any reason. You know, we don't want to lower standards, but we want to bring people up. We don't want to lower standards to get people in, but we want to keep the standards where they're supposed to be so they can reach the potential that God has in them. Because sometimes I think we just make it too easy. We make it too easy for people to fall and for people to stumble and for people to get caught up in bad situations because we tend to excuse everything. And we can't keep doing that. We can't keep doing it. Jesus didn't do it. At some point, Jesus turned over the tables in the temple because enough was enough. At some point, you have to say, my Father's house is a house of prayer. And we have to live by that standard. We have to maintain that standard so that people know there is a difference between the Father we serve and the Father you serve. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between God and Satan. That standard has to be so clear that you can't meet it just by walking in. Because when you walk in, you're coming as you are with all the baggage and everything that the world has laid upon your shoulders. But once you're in, you're to be taught, you're to be trained, you're to be shown how to lay all of that down, leave all of that behind you. As you said, Pastor Face, and your husband said, that's old. We've dealt with that. We're finished with that. And we've got to teach them how. That's old. That's done. You're finished with that. We got to show them how when you become a child of God, old things are passed away, and behold, all things become new. You don't bring this baggage with you. We teach you how to lay it down, leave it at the door so you can go higher and you can help someone else. But we cannot keep allowing things to remain as they are to keep people comfortable, and so that they will stay in our midst. Because sometimes it's better to stand alone than to stand with a bunch of hypocrites and phonies. And that's my point. You know, we've got to raise the standard, and we've got to show people what that standard is. We got to show people what God has for them and what He has given them and what He thinks and how He loves them.
So, Evangelist Knight, I'm glad you brought that point, and brought us there because, and so, and this can go to anyone because it's going to bring me into my next question. So we should have standards, in the church, and in our relationships and all of that. But we also know that, um, We also know that spiritual abuse happens when there's no standards, right? And
Absolutely.
so, um, and that's a form of abuse, but a lot of people don't want to talk about the spiritual abuse, they don't see a need of talking about it. And so, if you already have a person who has been through domestic violence and they go to the church supposed to be a place of healing, um, of direction, of guidance. But when they go in, they get rejected. The spiritual abuse happens. How do we, as leaders, how do we, as um, um, how do we handle it? What do we do? And I'm gonna start with Pastor Phasing with that.
How did I know you was going to call on me? being in ministry for let me go back. Let me go back to this. Being in ministry for now more than 25 years. 25 years. I've seen it all. Um, Apostle, Apostle Adams and I were in ministry at one time together, and I've seen it all. I've seen people come in and they come in with this. They already been abused, and it's like they wearing that bullseye on their back, and it's like people come directly to them, and they wind right back up in abuse again. Because the pastor know that you can cook cake, and every Sunday they asking you to bring them cake, or just they asking you to start doing stuff, and then because they see you have a good business, and then they want you to start they already see you tired. Well, can you get a little bit more? That's abuse. I mean, no harm, but it's abuse, taking advantage of people, and the church has done it. The church has done it for a long time. Advantage of people when it comes to the finances, when they they see that they can do certain, they it's like they take advantage of them. But me myself personally have been one of those people that have been taken advantage of. Sometimes it's hard. It's hard to learn how to separate the two. Like, go back, separate the two, and then you put up a wall because the next person that comes to you, you thinking that they're trying to use you, but they're actually not trying to use you, they're trying to be a friend to you, But and with me just birthing and just getting the foundation, this ministry, church is gonna be birthed on this coming Saturday. Loving Kindness Deliverance will be birthed on also as well. I will be walking into the office of a apostle elect on this coming Saturday. Those are some things that I'm setting up some boundaries of how this cannot happen in the church that I'm pastoring. Trying to set these things up, trying to put in place so when people come in. And a lot of times when I was in ministry, I used to tell people all the time, stop telling people all your business. A lot of times you come in, you let everybody know everything that you've been through, everything that you got, all of this, and don't understand that these people sitting around looking to leech off of you, looking to take advantage of you. And I've seen it happen. And I've seen some people come to church and they come in and then they wind up going right back out the door worse than what they were when they came in. And then, a lot of times they'll wind up committing suicides. Some of them will commit suicide. Nobody, I thank God, I've actually committed suicide, but I had some who have needed counseling. I'm a big fan of therapy. I'm a big fan of therapy. And if you need therapy, go to therapy. Go talk to somebody. um sit down and talk to somebody. I'm a firm believer that I at one point in time myself was in therapy. I had a therapist. I'm not ashamed to say, Miss Prophet Dad, I had a therapist, and it was a blessing to me. It helped me through a lot of things that
Mhm.
I've been through, and I'm thinking about right now going back into therapy. Not ashamed to tell nobody, because everybody needs somebody to talk to. I can't drop everything that I'm going through on my husband, but I'm just saying to the ones that are coming into the church, and I also want to say this: everybody, everybody in the church, to those that are listening, are not out here to get you, are not out here to hurt you. There are some people that are in the church that genuinely love you and love people.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody out here, please don't down me. I'm talking to my iPad. Everybody is not out here to take advantage of you. Some people in the church are there to love you. There are some people in the church who want to help you, who are assigned to help you and to bring you out of this place. Bring you out of this place. I remember one time I was in a church before the church that I just recently resigned from. Um, it was a husband and wife in the church, and I could see this is when I was first coming to salvation. I saw by the spirit that she was being abused. And if I saw it, little old me just coming, she was jumpy, and if he moved, she looked like, and I could see it. And I was like, well, how did the pastor see it? But it was like he would get the husband was getting praise. Oh, he's a great man of God. And I was like, but at that point in time, I wasn't at a place now where I'm at now that I would say, oh no, no, something's not right. We need to look into this, because she was very fearful. And I think now, I don't think they're together now. I don't think they're together now. I've seen her out. I don't think they're together. But I'm just saying, we as a church have to do better. That's the point blank. We
So
got to do.
I don't want to cut you off, but let me say this. And one thing that you said, and I also have a question for Evangelist Knight. So I have like different forms of media up so I can get the questions answered. But a lot of times people will come into the church and they assume because it's a pastor or it's a minister or it's a prophetess, it's an apostle, evangelist, that they know the signs of abuse. Um, that because they hold these titles, they can be, they can counsel you on abuse. Everybody don't know how,
That's right.
and we have to point that out. Everybody don't know how to counsel when it comes to abuse. Everybody don't know how to handle a domestic violence situation. There have been times that when I taught like the leadership, faith-based leadership on domestic violence, I remember a pastor saying, well, I will bring them in together. You can't bring them in together. It
Nope.
wasn't because he didn't care about them, but he didn't understand the seriousness of what domestic violence is. And so he was thinking about it from a spiritual stance. You know, let's counsel them on that. But then when I explained to him, if you address that I just got beat, even though you don't see the bruises, he's not gonna man up, or she's not gonna say, "Oh yeah, I was just beating him just to be beating him." That's not what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a bunch of denial.
Mm-hmm.
You may be able to discern in your spirit, but you're still putting that person that's being abused at risk.
At risk.
So, as leaders, we have to know how to handle things. Now, with my pastor, um, he'll say, "Quick, I can't answer that, but let me get you who can, get those answers for you." It's not an issue. And one thing I can say about us is we're not in competition because of a title. There are certain things that I can handle. Evangelist Knight will tell you if it's something I can't handle, I cannot handle that. But um, some people are in competition because of a title. We don't have to be as good leaders. If a person is going through abuse, let's get them resources that can help them, that can save their life. You know, so Evangelist Knight, back to one of the questions that when you were saying that's as women, some women we settle. So there was a question. It says, what are some of the reasons why women settle? Like, why do they settle in these relationships? What are some reasons?
Some women just have to have a man, and that's it, plain and simple. They don't care if it's a piece of man, a half a man, but they don't realize God don't deal in pieces and halves. God deals in whole, and God multiplies. And I have a niece that asked me one time, why do this? If we're not supposed to be together, why do we end up in all the same places? And I told her, maybe you need to stop going to those places, because that's what you're looking for. That's what you're going to find. Some women feel like it's better to have a man than to be alone. Some women don't believe they're good enough. They don't believe that they're loved. And like you said, some of it comes from home. Some of it, even those that came from homes where they were loved, at some point when they get out among their friends and their friends begin to belittle them, their self-esteem becomes low, and they begin to accept what's there. Some women believe that submission means that he has to have total control. Submission to me means love. I submit unto you because I love and I respect you. And I'm able to submit unto you because you love and you respect me. And I have no doubt that you will protect me, that you will cover me, and that you will be my strong tower. So I don't have to worry, because you are a man of God that knows what God expects and requires of you. So I don't have a problem. But you see, some women, they're misled, they're mistreated all their life, and they just accept whatever. And then some of them put themselves in a situation where they were disobedient to parents. They didn't try to prepare themselves for life ahead. So they needed someone to take care of them. And if this person was willing to take care of them, then they accepted whatever came with it. And so you got to be able to stand on your own. You got to be able to stand by yourself. You got to have the courage to walk out. My girlfriend and I talk all the time. And I know this is hard for some women, because I've watched some shows. I'm a ID person. I look at different crime shows. They don't allow you to have anything, but we always say you got to have enough put aside that you can get away. That you can get away. There's always got to be something. That's why I say you don't lock the door. There's always got to be somebody that you can get to that will help you. You've got to find that person that you can trust, that you can just say, I'm going, and you go. But a lot of times we allow them to isolate us. We allow them to mistreat us. We allow them to abuse us. And sometimes it's because we like it. Some women don't feel loved unless they're being abused. And so
that is so true.
So true. He don't love me because he don't abuse me. He's not jealous of me. He's not just covering me. He's not just all over me. No, if you love me, you trust me to be me. You allow me to be me. You give me space to grow, that we can build together a life that is pleasing to God. If you love me, you allow me to grow. You allow me to be that butterfly that comes out of that cocoon. Is whatever you call it, cocoon, and the same thing I do for you. I allow you to grow. I allow you to be you. I respect you. I encourage you. I build you up when the world has kicked you and knocked you down, and you come home. In some instances, they come home and take it out on the wife, and that's where abuse comes in. But in some cases, they come home and look to the wife to be regenerated, restored, revived. And if the wife does that, then he can go back out and face it another day. And that's what we got to continually do for one another. Regenerate, restore, revive, make sure I'm building you up and not assisting the world and tearing you down. So I got to be very careful in the things that I do, in the things that I say.
Thank you, Evangelist Knight. One of our viewers says isolation is the worst thing that can happen, and that is so true. We've talked about many things, but let's I'm gonna switch the tables a little bit. We're gonna talk about sexual assault. Um, Sexual assault can happen, and that's when someone has been, sexually abused. And a lot of times in marriages, people will say, well, that's my husband, that's my wife, I'm entitled. But I want to put out there that it don't work that way. No means no, whether it's home or not. Okay. So we're gonna talk a little bit about it. And I'm gonna take this question back to Prophetess. One of our questions said, how can pastors and lay leaders help sexual assault survivors? In mine, some people have been molested, some people have been raped, different things like that. So how can pastors and lay leaders help sexual assault survivors?
So I really think, and as I've been talking with a few of my sisters and brothers in the kingdom, we need to have support systems in the church. There are too many people that have degrees in counseling and psychology and behavioral health and different avenues, mental health. These things disturb people not only mentally, but emotionally, physically. We need to have crisis intervention teams in the church. We need to have solution support systems. We need to have resources. We need to have people that are willing to stand to pull them out with an escape plan and get them into avenues of healing and different things. And like she said, therapy is, they want to say, oh, you don't need therapy. I believe pastors need to start stepping back up and doing counseling. Growing up as a child, I remember that pastors would take you in their office. Come on, they would talk with you for hours. They would mentor you. They would mentor your children. Pastors are not taking the time to be a wise counsel to these people, to bring them into healing and to wholeness. We need to bring back deliverance. Come on. There is no deliverance going forth in the church. You're just sweeping under the rug and saying, oh, we're going to pray for you. We're going to lay hands for you. But these people still go back home and they deal and die with emotional trauma and neglect and rejection and abandonment and avenues of different illegal emotions of what they have been captive in. And so I believe that we need to, as a church, apply the knowledge and wisdom and the counsel of the Lord, as well as the mentorship and the guidance of what God has allowed us to learn in education, to teach, educate, transform, and to bring wholeness and healing to people, and create support and solution teams and crisis intervention. Like she said, with suicide is a very rapid spirit in the church right now with ministers and preachers. We need to be able to bring systems together that create solutions to be able to help the people that are struggling in these areas. Even with sexual assault, like I said earlier, some people are being sexually assaulted and it ain't even physical, it's spiritual. Come on, they being raped in the spirit, they being raped of their gifts, they being raped of their anointing, they being raped of who they are, they're being raped of their identity. Come on. And so this is where we need to get down and be hands-on with dealing with these situations, with going full-fledged into what we need to see to bring avenues of healing and wholeness among the church.
All right, come on now.
Amen.
Apostle,
Yes,
as an
ma'am.
as an apostle, how can you help sexual assault survivors that come to you?
Um, This is what I do. I have some that come to me. I deal with that a lot and still dealing with them a lot. Um, Even with things that some of the things that I cannot handle with them. Um, um, I'm an advocate for information, so I have a personal friend that I work therapy. I work for, volunteer work for. So some of them I send them to her, um, to different one I know to help them when I feel like that I can't reach them because sometimes just because we're a preacher in certain areas, certain people we cannot reach because I'm anointed. I'm anointed. I am to do certain things. Certain things I'm not anointed to do. So the areas what I can't touch at, I don't mess with it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I send them to therapy or send them to counseling to somebody I know in their area to get a touch where they're at. So important. But sometimes leaders won't because sometimes they want because they want to get the glory. They want to get to say, "Well, I've done this and I've done that." You know what I'm saying? But when you come, there's no deliverance. You come in, there's no deliverance in the house. You're not being delivered. They come in with these problem issues, and we're not. They're not being recognized. They're not being recognized. They're not being called out. So they go home the same way they came in. Back in the day, honey, I come old school. There was deliverance in the house. They come in with an issue problem. Them mothers and stuff, they call that mess out. You won't go on out of that till you got delivered. Or you act like you were delivered anyway. You did something before you left. But see, there are no deliverance anymore. We don't call anything out because we see stuff. And I said we as a whole, because I include myself, even though I'm not doing that, but I include myself because that's how people see it. We see stuff, we identify, but we don't say nothing about it. We shove it on the rug. It'll be all right. They okay. No, they ain't all right. That's why they come in God's house, because they want deliverance. They want to be free. They don't want to continue doing the same thing that they're doing. They want to be free. But then if you say something about it, you know what I'm saying? The thing about you say something about it, then they get upset with you, tell you don't have no right and authority to be calling certain stuff out. Well,
Come on,
yes, I
Apostle.
do. I'm walking in God.
Amen.
I'm his anointed
Amen.
vessel. He chose me to do
Amen.
this. He gave me the insight on it. I have spiritual discernment. You know what? See, one thing about it, we don't have that spiritual discernment like we say we have. We talk a good talk and say we do. But when you really got spiritual discernment, you see a whole lot of stuff. You recognize a whole lot of stuff. You call out a whole lot of stuff. I walk in deliverance ministry. So I see stuff and I call it out. They get mad, they get upset, but it's okay. People want to be healed. They want to be delivered. They're tired. They come in there tired. They come in there broken, but they want something. And I tell preachers all the time. Let me tell you something. Look, listen. Don't put your hand on something that you're not capable of doing, because all you're gonna do is mess them up. They already tore up. And if you
Come
don't
on, Apostle.
understand it, don't mess with it. Get them some help from somebody that can really help them. And like she said about therapy, a lot of them don't like therapy. They say, well, you know what? No, we can pray them through. But I don't seen them pray some of them through. I don't see them, they come right back in that same issue. That same thing. You thought they was healed, but they really won't heal. They won't heal. The same sign, they come right back in the same sign. So if it take therapy to work along with prayer, it's okay.
There's nothing wrong with it.
I
There's
believe that
nothing
God
wrong with it.
called doctors. He anointed doctors to do what they do. That's why they have to do what they do. And everybody don't agree, but it's okay. It's okay. I've been to therapy. I had to get some help myself. Come on, get somebody. I don't care how anointed we think we is. There'll come a time for things that you go through that you need some help.
Come
Sometimes you think they can pray you through. No, you can't. You can't pray yourself through. So I know you can't pray me through. So let me go ahead and get
Amen.
That's
some
right.
therapy over here. Let me get some help, because I need some help over here. I don't want to be in the condition that I am. Come on here, somebody. I didn't choose to be that. I didn't choose to be doing that. So I need to go and get some help. Somebody understand these, the what I'm doing. So I'm grateful to God that He's gave me my own personal therapy. And I've been working with her for 5 years. And I've seen seen a lot of stuff. But I thank God that when I need help, stuff I'm dealing with, And I said, you know what? We both preachers, you know. And I said, you know, something I'm dealing with. I said, I need help. I said, because you know what? Sometimes I can't go there. Let me tell you something. I've learned this here. I'm going to tell you how I got abused in the church. I was telling the leader what I was going through. And the leader took, you know what I'm saying? You can't tell everybody everything. Make sure God is saying you can tell them this. Took what I was saying and use the same thing I was saying and use it against me. Come on here.
Or use it as a message. Come on.
That's it. That's it.
And that's spiritual abuse.
That's it. What? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
All right, now.
I've been there. You know what I'm saying? Yes, that's me. They use it against me. So to keep me, you know what? It was harassment. It was blackmailing. They blackmailed me. You know what I'm saying? Same thing I wanted to say I couldn't say. No, you forgot what you know. I went through that. I went through that. And you know what? And when God released me, I came out of that too. I see because I've seen a whole lot of stuff. You know, I see a lot of us as married women that's in ministry and they're with their spouse. I see abuse. I see abuse, and I keep saying, God, why nobody don't want to touch that? Why nobody won't say that? You can tell me, I know I'm not the only one seeing what I'm seeing, and how I know it is how I know it. Let me tell you something. I notice when wives have to get up and talk about their husband, and you know, and introduce their husband, and certain things they won't say. I watched honey, body language says a whole lot. It says a whole lot to me. It speaks volumes to me. I said, well, you know what? Oh, I get it. Then I see her sitting over there. God, she ain't in tune with him. I know something going on. Then I found out she was in abuse. Don't say nothing when you go. Just say that and don't say nothing else. Come on here. So they're going on home, back and forth, you know. We love some of them sisters that we see. We love them. You know, we thank God for them. But they're in an abuse relationship. They can't say much. Come on. Because he's in control. He's in control. Don't get me started.
And that's why a lot of times they don't want to talk about the abuse within the churches because some of them are the abusers. Evangelist Knight, I see your hand.
Well, you know, I can talk about the spiritual abuse and what I went through in the church and growing in the church. And the thing that I feel that we have to do, let the world know that we're not perfect. Let the world know that we've been hurt. We've been disappointed. We've been let down. I've been there. I know. But also, we have got to hold our pastors to a certain standard. We have got to be determined that we're not going to allow anything to serve in our pulpits and lead us and call themselves men of God. Because you may not call it out, but I'm going to tell you, the world will call it out and they will let you know that you're following a lie. And so the one thing I'm going to do, I hold the man of God, that shepherd that God has set over me, I hold him accountable. I expect you to do what God has called you to do. I expect you to have the courage to do what God has called you to do. I expect you to speak up, stand up, hold up, do whatever you need to do to set the stage that we can worship, that we can have deliverance, as she was talking about, because the reason there's no deliverance in the church, there's too much confusion. There's too much disruption. There's too much discord. You letting folks that ain't got no business. I don't care how eloquent they can speak. I don't care how they can quote scripture. The devil can quote scriptures. You need to recognize it. You need to call it out, and you need to sit it down. You're welcome to stay here and grow, but you're not welcome to stay here and tear up. We have got to speak deliverance. The Lord moves when we are all on one accord. So often we can't get on one accord because there's too much underlying current in the church that we refuse to address and we refuse to deal with. But if you want to see the power of God move, if you want to see God move and break some yokes and destroy some things in life, get on one accord and adhere to his word. Because see, we want to do ministry now without the word. We want to do ministry now without God. We want to decide that what sounds good and what feels good is okay. But if it's not the word of God, if it's not of God, it will not inspire God to move. His spirit will not move you. We can pray that prayer all we want to, but he's not going to move until we get right. Deliverance came because back in them old days, if they had to stay there all night and resolve a problem, they stayed there all night and resolved it. But see, we, as you said, we sweep it under the rug. We got peace in the church, but we got everything so towed up. You got quiet in the church. You don't have peace. We ain't talking about it, but there's no peace. And so, and I'm a firm believer that God is a God of order.
Yes, he is.
When you look at creation, God did everything in a specific way because he knew that one thing couldn't survive if the other wasn't already in place.
That's right.
The thing we have to recognize as a people, we cannot survive if God is not the head. We got to get back in the word, living according to the word, and demanding, especially leaders in the church, especially leaders demanding that they be able to hold up the bloodstained banner. And if you can't, that's okay. Just back up. My old pastor used to say, if you can't back up your talk, then back up and don't talk. If you don't have what it takes, if you don't have what it takes to do the work of God, if you don't have that anointing, if you don't have that power, if you're not willing to surrender to what God has declared, to what he has said will be, then back up and allow someone else to do. But we got this thing called they've been in church a long time because they say the right thing, because they look the right way, they're a leader. No. Anybody that can't go along with something somebody else say and see somebody else as being right, that's a problem. If everything somebody else does is wrong, something is wrong there. If what the church has agreed upon to do and you can't go along with it, something is wrong there. If you always got to be the voice of dissent, the voice of opposition, you always got to be the one sowing discord, there's a problem. But you know what we do? We are afraid of them. We do not have the power that we declare that we have. We are afraid to call them out. We'll sit back and we'll go along with them. We'll try to keep them happy. But while you keeping them happy, you are losing people that truly need you. Because my thing is this: if you ain't been in church long enough to know who you should be and what you should be doing, then it's the reason why you there. And sometimes Satan send folk in your church to keep stuff stirred up.
Right.
Satan,
And that's why a lot of times people who are dealing with trauma won't come forth because they see all the discord.
Yes, they do.
If I'm not saved, and you know, I'm gonna put it out there. If I'm not saved and I come into the church and I see that y'all can't get along, what's the purpose of me coming in there? I'm already going through what I'm going through at home, but yet I'm gonna come through with more confusion. That's an issue. And that's why it's really hard for a person who's going through to come forth, because you don't know if they can't handle the affairs that they're already dealing with. If I load my bondage, you know, I load my baggage down to you, you know, what can I expect out of it? You can't even deal with what you're dealing with.
That's it.
And then we also have people that are lay leaders and in positions that's not properly postured before God for the position. They're sent in by the pastors because of their favoritism or because of their gifts or because of them saying, "Oh, I think that they're applicable," but God has not made them ordained person to be in that position. They don't even have the heart to pray for people. They don't have the heart to handle occurring situations of this matter. And so you got people that's got strife and envy and Jezebel on them, that you want to cover your people that's in trauma and agony. It won't work. You're going to endow even more strife and envy in the people. And then you learn about gifts and talents instead of embedding the word and bringing healing and deliverance. Come on, you worried about tithes and offering more than you worried about the offering of the souls going up before God.
Come on here.
Right.
So it's a lot of different avenues and different things in the church that needs to have structure and balance back in it to function in the way and the calling of God. Like she said, of the old days, of the old apostles. That's Bible. God speaks on that in Psalms, Isaiah, all through his word. We need to be properly positioned and be aligned with what God wants so that we can be of service to his people in times like this.
That's it.
Yes. Mm.
Man, amen. One thing I'm noticing in a lot of churches too, they'll stir the pot, but they won't wash the pot.
Come on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They'll stir the pot,
That's it.
but they won't
That's
wash the
it.
pot. They won't teach about holiness. They won't teach that holiness is right because they're scared that if they start talking about holiness, they ain't gonna have no time pay. They ain't gonna have this and that. But my thing is, if
They
God
won't.
gave you the ministry, if you're really saying God put you in that position, He's giving you the faith to be able to stand. And if don't nobody pay tithes, that church is gonna get taken care of. That's just what,
Yes.
because
Mm-hmm.
if God, He's gonna do it. If don't nobody pay tithes at Loving Kindness Deliverance Ministry, I believe that God has put me in the place that the building is going to get taken care of. That's just
Yes.
point blank. He's going to take care of it because he gave me the word. So if you're saying God gave you the word, why aren't you preaching? Why aren't you teaching people? Because at the end of the day, when I stand before God, Apostle Adam's not going to be there. Miss Vernita not going to be there. Linda. He's not going to say Apostle Linda. He's going to say, Linda, how did you serve
That's
my people?
right.
Did you do my word?
Mm-hmm.
Did you do what? Did you
Mm-hmm.
do the business that I
Mm-hmm.
put in you? Did you do right? That's
That's
what he's
right.
going to judge me on. And I'm sad to say that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to think they're going to get in. They're not going to get in.
They're
I
gonna
just
come
want
up
to make it
short.
in. I want to take those with me who want to go. I'm not
Yeah.
saying I'm perfect because I'm not. I make mistakes every day. But people are so easy to stir the pot up, but they won't wash the pot.
Mm.
They'll stir it
But you
up.
know what? They don't. You know what? You know why they don't teach on certain things? Well, they don't teach on it because you're not going to teach on something because you're not doing it. Because you
You
in
are
what
doing
they in, and you walking in what they in. And let me tell you something. I'm telling you, I'm not talking what somebody say. I'm talking facts, what I know. Some people they teach on certain stuff, but then certain won't teach on because if you walking in something, if you walking in adultery, you ain't gonna teach on it. Okay, you ain't gonna teach on it.
Mm-mm.
Why? Because you in it. They know that you're in it. But at the same time, when you call stuff out, you call it out. The God don't care. You call stuff out that it ain't in the house. When you call it out, it's in the house. It's in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's in there. So, but I seen time that, and I'm gonna be real with you. I seen time that they told me I need to be quiet,
Come
and
on.
that's
Come
what
on.
I got
Mm-hmm.
confirming the apostle. They told me I need to be quiet. I need to go over there. I need look. They was set me down. I seen time that they was set me in a seat, and the lady sat on me because they wanted me to stop talking. They didn't want me to call nothing out no more. I seen time to tell me, look, come in the back. Listen, you don't say that. You don't have no right to say that. Call stuff out. I got permission. Can I speak? I got permission. God got an order. When I got permission, can I speak? I said what thus said the Lord. I said it. I didn't take it back. I said what he said. He didn't call it out. It wasn't in the house. It was in the house. But see, why? They didn't want you in the house because you calling out too much stuff that they doing, that they into. And then you see
Mm-hmm.
them. You see,
That's
you
it.
see, you see, you see where they at. And they shut you down. They try to shut you down. But you keep calling it out. It's in the house. So
Yes.
people, they don't preach on something that they're living in, because they're living
Mm-hmm.
that. And then you wonder why the people not getting delivered. Why? Because that's what you do. You don't want to teach
Well,
on it. You don't want to
well,
have the deliverance in there. It's okay, but it's not okay.
people try to teach now in a way to justify you in your sin. But
Come on.
God saved us from sin, not in
Yes, he
sin.
did.
And that's the thing that we need to realize. But people try to teach a feel-good ministry now that says you're okay where you are. But if I'm okay where I am, I didn't need Jesus to come. I was not okay, and there was no way I was going to be okay until Jesus died on that cross to pay that sin debt, to set me free from the bondage of sin. And we got to stop trying to justify sin because we don't want to give up sin.
Exactly.
If you don't want to give up sin, then don't take others with you. Step back out of the way and let those who are willing to preach truth, to preach true doctrine, to preach the pure, unadulterated word of God, stand flat-footed and do it. Get out of the way and let them do it. Get out of the way, because there are so many people that are looking, as you say, for deliverance, looking for salvation, looking for hope, looking for an expected end, and can't get it because you got folks in the way trying to justify sin. Well, you can't say this about people. Yes, I can. I can say it, and if I stepped on your toes, then you go home and get it right. You don't have to come to me and tell me I stepped on your toe. Just go home and get it right. Because I'm preaching the word. I'm preaching what thus saith the Lord. And what I'm doing is trying to deliver you from sin, not justify you in your sin.
That's right.
Because that's not why Jesus came and died. It's not about feeling good. It's about living good according to the word of God.
That's right.
We measure ourselves by the word of God.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no justification in sin.
That's right.
There's salvation from sin. And we got to really make people understand that. God didn't save you in your sin. He saved you from sin.
Amen.
Too many people want to stay in sin.
And before we came on, I saw Minister Vernita's post about how so many people are giving out false teaching and false doctrine, and they're allowing this stuff to go across the pulpit, and people are bleeding on God's sheep, knowing that they're hurt, that they're dealing in different types of trauma, they're dealing in mental bondage and agony, and they going across the pulpit and want to lay hands on people and come into the church and bring even more disaster of what's already laying there dormant that they're not dealing with. And so that is something that we need to deal with, because you are held accountable to govern these sheep as God's people. And so by you teaching and fitting the word, a lot of people are trying to fit the word to their false narrative and manipulate the word to fit what they want to make it seem like you said, to justify sin. No, we are to preach and teach nothing but the sound, true doctrine of God. We cannot change the word. God's word will never change. We need to be coming just like Jesus did, administering the word, deliverance and healing, using it as a two-edged sword to cut and multiply and bring a total submission into God and the ordinance of his church. People are continually, and that is a form of abuse. That's a form of manipulation. People don't know that is a form of wavering to and fro. God said we are to be stable in all our ways. We are not to be wavering to and fro. And by you doing this and administering that type of service in your church, you are leading the sheep astray. And so they're not in position to even deal with the avenues and the situations at hand.
But
your leaders have to be powerful and courageous enough to say, no, this will not happen here.
Yes.
No. They gotta be able to stand.
And I had a pastor try to shut me down because I tell him, you need to deal with this. And he's like, I'm gonna deal with it. Just give me time. No, when? Because God has already brought it to your attention. You need to be held accountable. You need to deal with this. You need to call a meeting. If you have me in position, I have every right on the board. I have every right as a leader of this church to let you know what I see, what is going on, what God is telling me. I am bringing it to you that it may be brought forth and be held accountable and be assessed. You cannot continue to run and hide and allow these demons to tremble in here. Because if that's the fact, then you need to be set down.
Minister Howard can tell you that I will let them know God had an answer in the Bible for how to deal with sin in the church because he knew it was there. If he put it there, he meant for it to be utilized. This I will pray for him. No, I will pray for you, but I'm gonna also set things in order.
Exactly.
And if you go back and you look at how Paul instructed Timothy and Titus to establish the churches and clean up the churches, he said, set things in order.
In order.
That's what we are afraid to do, is to set things in order. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's what keeps our people strong. It's what keeps our people productive. It's what keeps our people on the straight and narrow. You have to set things in order. If you are in a leadership position, you need to know that everybody's not going to love you. If any of you have been a supervisor on your job, everybody does not love you. You've been a mother. You know there are times when your children do not love you. They are angry because you are setting things in order. You are setting a standard. You are not allowing things to change. So if all you're there for is to be loved, then you are not doing the job, because people are going to get angry with you. There are times that I've been angry with my husband over stuff that he said, but then Lord knows I had to come back and say, you were right. There are times, I ain't gonna tell you no lie. I get mad when he tell me this and he tell me that. But I said, oh Lord, he's telling me right. You know, you gotta recognize.
Yes,
and if you are a strong enough leader, if you are a powerful enough leader, your people are gonna come to you and say, and I've said this to our pastor, haven't I, Vernita? Yes. I didn't understand you before, but I apologize for how I reacted, because you were right, and now I understand. But if you're a leader, people are going to disagree. People are going to object. But you have got to stand forth and do as God has called you to do. Every now and then, you're going to have to do like Jesus. You're going to have to go in there and turn over some tables.
That's it.
You're going to have to go in there and turn over some tables.
And I heard a pastor say yesterday about impression over expression. People are so concerned about impressing the people instead of bringing the expression of Christ to the church. They are so concerned about their image and not having the image and the liking image of God. They are so worried about impressing to keep the people that has the most money, that brings benefits, instead of worrying about the benefits of souls and the benefits of salvation to get the people to heaven. It's sickening.
But you know what, though? It is. I've been told when I was corrected, don't you forget where you came from. Woo, yes.
Let me tell you something. My sister said something so profound the other day. She said, oh, look how I have changed and they have not. Whenever they say something to her like that, and I thought, oh, wow, girl, you have brought it to the forefront. God, look where you have brought me from and how I have changed, and they have not. Because you know what? Correcting me, you correct me because you love me. That's right. What the word of God said. God chastens those he loves.
That's right.
Yes, he does.
And when the person said it to me, I looked at them, and I'm not saying that they hurt my feelings, because they said, don't you forget where you came from. But I thought when you know to do better, you do better.
That's right.
Hey, yeah. You do better. You don't continue to call right wrong and wrong right. You don't continue to do that thing. You continue to move forward and move away from the things that you was in. And I know for that, I was walking, because when you begin to teach on holiness, when you begin to preach on I'm telling you, begin to preach that holiness is right, and that's what God called us to do, because he is holy. I'm telling you, some of these leaders in these churches, they start looking at you kind of cross-eyed, and if you be like me, you don't get called to preach, because don't nobody call me.
They don't call me to preach.
They don't call me to preach. And I tell them when I'm up preaching, I may not get invited back again, but I'm going to say what I got to say, what God is telling me to say while I'm here.
That's it. That's all you can do.
That's it.
I mean,
say it while I'm here.
I'm
But
gonna say
I look at Vernita's question 13. The church is supposed to be a house of healing, support, and love. If a survivor will enter in your house of worship, will they find that? If I had to answer that right now, I'd say no.
Mm-hmm.
I say we
Mm,
got a ways to go.
we gotta
yeah.
wait get
But
back
I
there.
will say they will find some who are willing to be that persons that will stand in the gap, that person that will care, that will deliver compassion. We do have some, but is our house a house of healing right now? No, because of the spiritual abuse.
Yeah.
And spiritual abuse can break a lot of people. And I'll be honest,
Okay.
had I not come from what I come from, spiritual abuse would have broken me. But what I
Yes.
had down on the inside is what kept me. I'm telling you, I went home a many days and cried.
Man.
I went home a many days and cried. I'm gonna tell you something. I got ready for church, and my husband was saying, "You want to ride with me?" I said, "No, I'm coming on," and I would stay home because I knew what I had to face when I got there. But what God put on the inside of me has empowered me and helped me to the point that now I can stand. Now I can say, I'm going to help somebody else because I know how hard it was for me. When Vernita came along, I said, I'm going to help her. I'm going to make it easier for her.
That's
Now,
right.
she knows a lot. She knows a lot, but there are simple things that can cause you to get discouraged, that can cause you to say, be afraid to move
Yes.
forward. And when she shares those things with me, I encourage her. I build her up. I'm not trying to tear her down, not trying to
Right.
do it. I'm trying to make life easier for her, help her along the way, because Lord knows, had it not been for God on my side, I don't know where I would be. And I promised him that I would help somebody. I would help the next
That's
person
right.
that came through. I would make it a little bit easier, a little more comfortable for
Yes.
them to function. And that's what we're supposed to do. I'm not supposed to take you through what I went through. I'm supposed
Right.
to make it better. I'm supposed to make
Yes.
it easier.
Bring you
I'm
out.
supposed to make you more comfortable.
That's right.
I'm there to help. I'm not there to hurt. I'm there to build up, not to tear down. That is not my option. That's not my goal in church. I am there to serve God. I am there to give my all to God. I preach the sermon when tomorrow starts without me. When
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow starts without me, I want to be able to stand before my Lord and Savior and say, all that you gave me, I used unto your glory. All that you gave me. I didn't hold back none of it. And that's my intention. That's my purpose, because that's what he has called me to use what he has given me to make someone else's life better, to strengthen someone else. And that's what we all should be about. And if
Mm-hmm.
we are about that, we can help domestic violence survivors. We can help child abuse victims. We can help the homeless. We can
Mm-hmm.
help those that are illiterate. We can
That's
help
right.
those that are ignorant. And when I'm saying ignorant, I'm not calling them stupid. I'm just saying they don't know. They
Yes.
Right.
don't. We can help them. We can help everybody. We can make a way for everybody if we would operate the church as God intended.
Yes.
Exactly.
When
The
we're
church
about
needs healing to
beautiful
be a place
buildings,
of healing.
it
So,
needs
Amen.
healing. It needs to be cleaned up. It
yes.
needs to be cleaned up. We have got to put Jesus back as the head of the church
Amen. So,
and bring
ladies,
the pastor as the under shepherd.
I want to say to you, ladies, tonight, thank you so so much. Oftentimes we want, I can give you a script of what we're going to talk about, but I truly believe in how God leads, um, and allow Him to lead every conversation. Um, I don't know about the viewers, but I know this has helped me as well. I often say, abuse come in many forms, and tonight, you know, um, for those who watching, those who come back and watch, they know that spiritual abuse is real. Um, and the reason, when I asked God who to place on this platform, it's funny the way he gave it to me because everybody has a different title. Um, but one of the things that I like is that, no matter what our title was, we're able to come out and sacrifice our time to bring awareness to a topic that no one wants to talk about, which is spiritual abuse. Um, and so I want to say to all of you, thank you so much. To those who are watching, um, I know this, we covered a lot on tonight. So just go back, listen to it. I promise you, you will get more than what I intended for you to get out of this. I love the way God moves. For those of you who do not know, SWAT has opened their second chapter in Indiana. If you're in Indiana, we will be in Kokomo, Indiana on Saturday. We are having a fun day in the park, to bring awareness to what we do. Um, and everything that we do in the park on Saturday is completely free. We have a lot of goodies to give away. Um, we have wellness checks. We have a lot set up for the family. So come out. Um, and it's important. The reason we include men, women, and children is because if we start at the head and we train and educate that man, it'll trickle down into the family. So therefore, um, we are serving counties in Kokomo and Howard County and the surrounding areas. So again, we will definitely be there. Um, we'll be at Highland Park in Kokomo, Indiana. We also have our second chapter in North Carolina, and we are all of Eastern North Carolina. We serve all of Eastern North Carolina. And so, with that being said, we're here to serve men, women, or children, advocate for you if you have been in a domestic violence situation. Um, if you found yourself or your family, your friends, or anybody going through, or you're not for sure if it's a domestic violence situation, you can go to our website, survivorswiththetestimony.org. You can always call our hotline. It's 888-522-7928. Um, and so we just want to say, continue to keep us lifted up as we do what God has ordained us to do. Um, but I want to say to those that are watching, those who have been a part of this panel, I want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time out because it takes a lot to do what we do. But when you have willing vessels that will come and spread awareness, it helps us do and reach more people. So, on tonight, I just want to say thank you. If you're in a domestic violence situation and you don't know how to get out, you don't know what to do, you can contact us at any of the all our information is scrolling, but you do need to have a safety plan prior to leaving. So let us be that help to you. But go ahead and gather your things together, your birth certificates, your children birth certificates, all of your social security cards, any medical information, your medication. Write down your medications. Write down the times that you take, the strength of the medication. Have all that information in a place. If you have a friend that you can take clothing to, take it to that friend. But if you don't have anyone, always keep you an overnight bag in your car, enough for you and your children for a week. Um, but again, it's important to have a safety plan because you can't just show up to a safe house and just think that they'll be able to house you. So those are things that we want to make sure that you have in place. Again, if you don't know, you can always go to our website, survivorswiththetestimony.org. You all be blessed and have an amazing night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.